Greetings, it's Iain from RTO here. Welcome to another Marathon Wednesday. But before we start, I just want to clear up a few things. Firstly, how I pronounce things. Okay, there are a lot of people that are starting to, the armchair warriors are just starting to say, oh, you're saying that wrong. Now, I just read what's in front of me and I have a stab. It's no disrespectful from the names of the people, but people have got to realise we all say things differently in the world. There's one country in particular, I'm not going to mention it, but you seem to get on your little high horses every time I say a name wrong. We pronounce things differently. You get even, there's some words that get, normal words get pronounced and you get on your high horses. Just accept we say things differently around the world, okay? And you know that sometimes I can't say things properly because of when I had my Bell's palsy, it's left me with a bit of a speech problem. So that's why. So sorry to have a whinge, but anyway, today we're going to look at another request, and it's for the band Fates Warning. Fates Warning, one of the great pioneers of progressive metal in America, and they were formed back in 1982 by John Arch, Jim Mathias, Victor Arundoni, bassist Joe DeBays, drummer Steve Zinnemann. They had a lot of numerous lineup changes in the course of their 41-year career, because there's rumours that they're not going to make any more albums. So we'll go through it as it happens. Now, I like this band. I like all their albums. I've got copies of all their albums. I did have them on CD, but unfortunately I had to, when I did my downsize, I had to get rid of them because I just hadn't got the room. But I have got them on my iPod, so I listen to these all the time. So, and it's just tough to choose put these in that right order. It took a little while to do this one, but I managed it. So 13 albums to look at today, so we'll get a crack in. So coming in at number 13 is their debut album from September 1984, and it's called Night on the Bröcken. Now, the Bröcken are a mountain in Saxony, Germany, which is associated with witches. So playing on this is John Arch, Jim Mathias, Victor Arundi, Joe DeBays, and Steve Zimmerman. First track on here is a great track called Buried Alive. Got some great riffs here from both Victor and Jim. John's vocals are a little bit array in places, but it's a great bass line from Joe. Then we get the Calling. I love Joe's great galloping bass on this. It's very Steve Harris galloping along sort of bass. Really does add to it. Got some lovely guitars on this as well. It's a good track. Kiss of Death. Love the drums from Steve Zimmerman. I love the melodics of this one. The driving basses again. It's a fantastic track. The title track, Night on Bröcken. Really good metal track. Great bass line again. Solid singing from John. Terrific track. Then we have Sec. A short little acoustic piece. Very nice. Misfit, one of my favourite tracks on the album. It's the drums and the bass on this that really bring it to life. Absolutely killer track. Then we get my favourite track. It's one of the shortest on here, but it's called Shadow Facts. What I like about these, that strong riff, and then you get a great guitar. Not sure who actually plays the solo on this. Is it Jim or is it Victor? But it's absolutely killer. Then we get Damnation, another really good track. This is a track that showed what you were going to get from this band as time progressed. It's really intricate in places. Then Soldier Boy, some great solos on here. It's just shredding solo, great drums and a great vocal from John. What an out track to end the album. Okay, this may be, I love this album, it's number 13. But it was the start of their career and you could see what was going to come in. It's a good album. I love playing this album, don't get me wrong. So I'm going to give it an RTO ranking of 6.5. Just because it's at number 13 doesn't mean it's a bad album, because it certainly isn't. Okay then, coming at number 12, we got a 1986 now, and the third album, Awaken the Guardian. Changing personnel on this. Still got John on the vocals, Jim on the guitar, but we've now got Jim Armchambalt on keyboards and Frank Aresti on guitar, and Steve on the drums, and Joe on the bass. The first track is The Sorceress. It's a great typical sort of start of a Fates Warning track. Lots of guitars. Now we've got a little bit of keyboard coming in. It's very eerie. That chuggy bass line from Joe. Absolutely great. John Arch, brilliant vocal. Love that track. Then we get Valley of the Dolls, another brilliant track. One of John Arch's finest vocal performances in Fates Warning. It's a brilliant track. Fata Morgana is the next track. Probably, again, one of my favourite John Arch vocals. Very strong. And we got, you know, Jim and Frank. The guitars are really, really good. They interplay between them. They play off each other very well on that track. Then we get Guardian, my favourite track on here. This starts off with a lovelier piece of acoustic. Then the electric guitars come in and take over. Absolutely dynamite track. Prelude to Ruin. This is where that lovely twin guitar really works. You get the real appreciation of it if you listen to it under headphones, because you've got them both twiddling around your earlobes. It's absolutely brilliant. Absolutely great track. Then we get Giant's Law, Heart of Winter. Love the riffs in this one. Strong, driving. Steve's drumming's terrific in this. I like how he starts and stops the tempo in this. Fantastic. Time Long Past. Again, we got a lovely combination of acoustic and electric guitars. I love it when you get the two different sounds. It's a very short piece, but it's wonderful. And then we get Exodus. Love the hi-hat cymbals, distinctive sound, striking down. The bass drum is great. It's just a real solid track. Excellent album. This is when I think this is when they really started hitting their stride. It's such an important album for them. It's absolutely killer, and I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 7 out of 10. Okay then, coming in at number 11, we've got a 1985 for the second album, and it's called The Spectre Within. We got this is the original lineup with Jim Arch on keyboards. So it's John, Victor, Jim and Steve and Joe. And the first track on here is a brilliant track called Traveller in Time. Starts off with ticking clocks and wind, the effects. You get the church bells, and then you get this powerful riff. Absolutely brilliant. Jim and Victor on the mark with that one. Orphan Gypsy. One of the best tracks John Arch sang with Fates Warning, and it's got some great guitar licks in it. It's my favourite track in here. Probably one of my favourite tracks by Fates Warning as well. Without a Trace, more driving riffs from Jim and Victor on this. Joe's bass line is just dynamite as well. Pirates of the Underground. Great bass line from Joe. Great bass player. He was an important part of this band in the beginning. Sort of drove them along. That's an absolutely killer track. The Apparition. Some great riffs on here. Little twiddly bits as well. And a great vocal from John. Then we get Kiri Elson. It's probably one of the weakest tracks in the whole collection. It's a little bit thin. It needs a little bit of beef. And that's all I'll say about that. Epitaph, strong track this is to end the album. Then great riffs, some great guitar work here. Atmospheric and eeriness, and a great vocal from John. This is the best album with John Archer singing. It was a fine performance. It just... The only criticism of this album, it did lack a little bit of depth in places, but we knew it was going to get better. And it's not a bad album. It is not a bad album. And I'm going to give this one an RTO ranking of 7.2. Okay, coming in at number 10, got the 6th album from 1991, and it's called Parallels. On here we got a new lead singer, Ray Alder. Jim still on the guitar, Frank Oresti's on guitars. New drummer, Mark Zonder. Joe DeBias. And backing vocals by a certain James Labrie. So there you go. He hadn't long joined Dream Theater, but he did the backing vocals on one of the songs. So the first track on here is called Leave the Past Behind. Great opening bass line from Joe. Very intricate, and then you got Jim and Frank coming in with some great stuff, and a lovely bit of drumming by Mark Zonder. Very good. Life in the Still Water. This is the backing vocals are done by James. Absolutely brilliant backing vocal. Great singer in his own right, of course. I love this. It's a great delivery from Ray on the vocals. Them hard hi-hat hitting drums is brilliant. The riffs are strong. Absolutely killer track again. Eye to Eye, a classic Joe bass line. The vocal from Ray is good. And we've also got some nice backing vocals on here as well. Very good track. The 11th Hour, good track. Love the riffs on this. Strong, powerful drumming. Excellent. Then we get Point of View, which is my favourite track on here by miles. It's just got a galloping bass line, and you've got Mark Zonder on the drums, enhancing that bass line. Absolutely amazing stuff. It's just, you know, I just love that sound and the intricate sort of metal riffs with a progressive feel to it. Absolutely brilliant. We Only Say Goodbye. Nice, strong, a little bit different, and a little bit wishy-washy. What's going on? You've got a great track like Point of View, and then you get this. Strange, but there we go. Don't Follow Me comes next. Really good track. The guitar work here from Frank and Jim is fantastic. A solid drumming from Mark Zonder. Excellent track. The Road Goes On Forever comes next. It's the last track. Nice track. Doesn't really fit on the album. It's a track that you wouldn't associate with this band, but I like it. It's really good. There's some really mellow stuff on this album. I think this shows the other side of a really good band, and I do like listening to this album, so I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 7.4. Okay, then coming in at number 9, we have the 7th album from 1994. Inside Out, and this was the last time that it featured Joe DeBois on bass, and the last one with Frank Aresti until he rejoined later. So on here is Ray Alder, Jim Mathias, Frank Aresti, Joe DeBois and Mark Zonder. Looking at outside, looking in, great track, a great bass line from Joe, very daunting and eerie, gives it atmosphere. Jim and Frank's guitar is brilliant, solid track, absolutely solid track. Pale Fire, if you listen to the drumming on this, it's one of them stop start beats that still flows well. Mark did a great job on that. Very hard to do this sort of drumming. I don't know how many times how many takes it took, but it's flawless on this, absolutely brilliant. Then we get The Strand, probably one of the best tracks on the album. It's a little bit different. It's not as heavy, but it's just got intricacy all over it. Shelter Me, solid track again. The only thing I think is the bass is a little bit tinny. I don't know if they've got the mix wrong, but the bass doesn't sound as good as the rest of the tracks. Island in the Stream, really like this. This is a slow melodic track, one of my favourites. As it is proper progressive metal. That heavier riff. If this was been just prog rock, you'd have a lovely mellotron somewhere in there, but you've got good powerful guitars. Great track. Down to the Wire, great track. Again, it's a little bit more, it's not as heavy, but it's still got lots of lovely little tones on it. Face the Fear, yeah, it's alright. It's not one of the best tracks on the album. Then we get this instrumental called Inward Bound, absolutely tremendous. Shows the skills of the musicians here. Each has a little bit. The drumming bit is fantastic. That bass drum sounds great. The twiddly intricate bass, Frank and Jim's guitars. Monument, it's okay. It's okay. Now and again they do put a clanger in, and sort of a clanger that one is. Afterglow, the last track, absolutely killer track. From the drumming to the bass line to the singing, it's just a all-round great track. There's some really good songs on here. Some of the production on it is a little bit, but it doesn't take away the enjoyment of this album. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 7.5. Okay, number 8. For number 8, time for a drop of coffee. Okay then, number 8 is the 4th album from 1988, and it's the first album that Ray Alder appeared on. It was the last to feature Steve Zimmerman, who left the band not long after this. And the title of this album was inspired by No Exit, a 1944 play written by French philosopher Jean-Paul Sartre. So there you go, a bit of history. So this is Ray Alder, Jim Mathias, Frank Aresti, another keyboardist, Mark Casquillon, Steve Zimmerman, and Joe DeBois on bass. Title track is No Exit. What a way to introduce your brand new singer with a voice of mystique. Absolutely great track. I love this track. I think Ray Alder is a fantastic singer, and he sang from this album on. He sang on all the albums. Anarchy Divine, riffs ripping through it by Jim and Frank. Steve's drumming is fantastic on this. What a track. Silent Cries comes next. A little short track, but it's powerful. Driving riffs, great drumming, great singing from Ray. All round good little track. In a Word, absolutely cracking guitars on this. It's a good track, solid. Shades of Heavenly Death comes next. My favourite track on here, and it's all to do with the drums of Steve Zimmerman. How he changes the tempo, how he keeps the track growing. He is the powerhouse of this track, because everyone else sort of latches onto the great drumming. The driving riffs in this are terrific. Then we get the Ivory Gate of Dreams. Now the start of this, the guitar work is intricate, so strong. One of the fine guitar pieces of these two working together, and then you get a wonderful vocal performance from Ray. You get this sort of it starts really heavy, and then it goes into a gentle bit, and you think, well, where are they going to take it now? And it builds up back into the raunchy stuff. A great thing, interesting piece, and the longest track on this album. What a good album. I think this is also when the difference between John and Ray. Ray's got a more richer voice, and I think it was a really great asset to get him, because he did change the way the band recorded. And I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 7.6. Okay, then coming in at number 7, got the 5th album, released in 1989, and it's called Perfect Symmetry. So who have we got in the band on this? We've got Ray Alder, of course, doing the lead vocals. Jim's on the guitars, and Frank, another keyboardist, Kevin Moore. We've all heard of him. He's played with a few people, hasn't he? Mark Zonder's on the drums, and we've got Joe on the bass, and we've got a violinist called Faith Frioli to add to the mix. First track is called Part of the Machine. This starts off with that sort of listening to it on the radio, but then Mark Zonder's drums come in and wakes everybody up. An interesting track. A good vocal from Ray, I like that. Through Different Eyes, really like Joe's bass line on this. Some great drumming from Mark again. They've always had really, really strong drummers. Static Axe, dominated once again by Mark Zonder on the drums. Them little riffs as well are absolutely killer. My favourite track comes next on the album, A World Apart. The guitar work, it's just amazing, intricate, heavy as well. I'm not sure if it's Frank or Jim doing the solo on it, but it's brilliant, and Joe's bass line just hovers there is the glue of this song. Very, very good track. At Fate's Hands, love the start of this, the acoustics. It's got that medieval sort of melodic thing on there, and then we got this great guitar solo again, absolutely brilliant. The Arena, short little rocker with a great vocal from Ray. I like it when they do these short ones, they're just boom, in, done. Then we get Chasing Time, an atmospheric track, great vocal from Ray on this. The guitar work from Frank is great, and Jim, absolutely brilliant. Good track. And the last track is Nothing Left to Say, dominated again by drums. Absolutely brilliant album. Absolutely, this album is great. Play this a lot. It's just great track after great track. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 7.8. Okay then, coming in at number 6, we go to the 9th album. This was released in the year 2000. It's called Disconnected. Different lineup again. So Ray still, of course, doing the vocals. Jim still playing the guitars. Mark Zonder is on the drums. Joey Beera is on the bass. Kevin Moore is on the keyboards. Excuse me. Additional keyboards and sequencing effects is Steve Tushar. Laurie Mathias is on voices. Amy Motta on voices as well. And Bernie Altman on voices. So the first track on here is Disconnected Part 1. It's a little instrumental. I love the guitar on this. Very eerie. That lovely keyboards from Kevin Moore. Absolutely brilliant. Then we get One. The riff on this is absolutely brilliant. Then we get this great bass line from Joey. Taking over, you know. Again, they've always had a good, strong bass player. Absolutely brilliant. Then we have a track called So. Really melodic this is. Interesting sort of sequencing in bits. Very strong vocal from Ray. Pieces of Me. Fine drumming again from Mr. Zonda. Joey's bass line is brilliant. It's a bit groovy, a bit funky, but there's nothing wrong with that. Then we get an absolute epic 10 minutes. It's called Something From Nothing. The drums on this are brilliant. Bass line solid, Ray's on fire, all the great little guitar bits. There's so many you can mention. Brilliant track. And then we have my favourite track, and this is 16 minutes, and it's called Still Remains. This is a fine example of progressive metal. Lots of intricate drum beats, little keyboard swells that sort of come in and out all the time. The guitar licks are plenty, solos are plenty. Absolutely brilliant. Disconnected Part 2 ends the album. This is the longer version. It's very eerie. The spoken word makes it such an daunting and eerie track. What a way to end the album. A very solid album from top to bottom. It's an album you don't just put on one track here and there, you put the whole thing on. It's just an amazing album. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 8 out of 10. Coming in at number 5 then, this is from 2004, it's the 10th album, and it's called FWX. It's the last studio album that featured Mark Zonda on the drums. So this is Ray on vocals, Jim doing all the guitars, Mark Zonda on drums, and Joey Vieira on bass. First track, it's called Left Here. I just love the crickets at the beginning. It sounds like it's a bit from a cowboy song. I love the acoustic guitar from Jim. He's doing all the guitar work on this, and then he comes in with some powerful riffs and a killer vocal from Ray. Good start to the album. Simple Human. Mark leaves the band with some great drumming on this album, and this is some fine examples as well. The keyboards sound great as well on this, and that's done by Jim as well, so he's multitasking on this album. Very good. Then we have a track called River Wide Ocean Deep. Jim's guitar work is fantastic on here. The keyboard is a little eerie. The drumming from Mark is killer. Very, very good track. Another Perfect Day. One of the most commercial sounding tracks by Fates Warning. It's very good though. I quite like it. A little bit different. Heal Me. Brilliant bass line on this from Joey. It's just really good. Then Jim comes on with a little bit of guitar on the top of it, and it keeps that eeriness to it. Great vocal from Ray on this. Lovely stuff. And then we get sequence number 7, which is a short instrumental. Very clever, some nice bass lines, sequencing as well. There's some nice guitar, very good. Then we get Crawl, classic Fates Warning riffing. It's all done by Jim, and it's a great solo. Then we have my favourite track on this one. It's called Handful of Doubt. I like the start of it. It's all backwards sounding, and then it stops and goes the right way round. It's a very melodic song as well. Mark's great drumming as well. Bassline from Joe's brilliant. It's just everything you need in progressive metal. Stranger with a familiar face. Another of those tracks that starts like it's on the radio and then boom, everybody comes in. Killer track. Then we get Wish. I love the eerie bass line on this. And this is, as this is the last track, this is the last drumming from Mark. Absolutely brilliant. There's a little bit of piano on this that really is the highlight. It really holds the track together. Great track to end the album. Another solid album. From top to bottom. I'm always playing these albums. They just are brilliant. There's only one way to say it. So I'm going to give this one an RTO ranking of 8.2. Okay, then coming in at number 4, we have the 11th album from 2013, and it's called Darkness in a Different Light. So, this is the first album that Bobby Jarzembek plays on, and it'll be the last that would feature Frank Aresti as an official member of the band. So we've got Ray on the vocals, Jim as ever on the guitars, Frank Aresti on guitars, Bobby Jarzembek on drums, and Joey Vieira on the bass. First track on here is a great track called 1000 Fires. No complicated intros, straight in with riffs. Absolutely brilliant. I love tracks that just go bang, away we go. 7 minutes and 21 of great progressive metal. Fantastic track. Firefly. Some of Ray's great vocals on this. And this is the introduction of Bobby on the drums. Oh, does he do a good job on this one. Brilliant stuff. Desire. Some lovely guitar riffs here from Jim and Frank. They play off each other very well on that. There's so much atmosphere on this track as well. Then we have a track called Falling. It's a short little acoustic thing, and it's a lovely vocal from Ray, showing that he can sing gentle stuff as well. I Am, my favourite track on here. This is Bobby's first writing credit as well, and his drumming on this is phenomenal. They've always had good drummers, and I think that's the key bit of a progressive metal track, having a great drummer that can do all this intricate stuff, and he does. And there's some delicate guitar work on this. It's just a chalk and cheese, but works perfectly. Then we have a track called Lighthouse. I love the start of this. It's my favourite intro of any of Fate's Warning songs. It's that twin guitar that's gentle, sultry. Then the keyboard comes in. Just a brilliant track. Into the Black, one of my favourites on here. Bobby's drumming, great. The difference in the guitar, it just feeds a little bit different into this track, and it works. It's just I love the tones on the guitars on that one. Neil and O'By, proper progressive metal this is. Solid singing from Ray. Oh, gives it all the guts on that one. Oh, Chloroform. The bass line dominates this. It's just a little groovy and it works. Then yet it moves. Nice acoustic start. A great solo. Some great riffs. Good track again to end the album. I love how they start and end their albums with powerful tracks. Another really strong album, very consistent, this band at this time, pumping out a good album after good album. So I'm going to give this one an RTO ranking of 8.3. Okay, coming in at number 3, 2016's The 12th Theories of Flight. And who's playing on here? We have got Ray Alder, Jim, Joey, Bobby on the drums, and the guests on here. Frank Aresti comes back. Mike Abdal does a guitar solo on White Flag, and Carolina Tinker does the spoken word and samples. First track on here, it's called From the Rooftops. Starts off quite melodic, sensible. You think, oh, this is nice. Boom, Bobby comes in and puts a powerful drums in, and then the guitar work is absolutely brilliant. And the guitar solo on here is done by Frank, who makes a guest appearance, and it's very good. Then we get 7 Stars. Now this is a great guitar solo from Jim this time. Really dominates the track. SOS. Joey's bass line holds the track together. Jim's guitars are great. Bobby's drumming's good. Then we get my favourite track on here, and it's probably one of my favourite tracks. Again, it's an epic 10 minutes 14, and it's called The Light and Shade of Things. Starts off with a lovely little bit of bass from Joey, and it starts to begin to get build the little bits of guitar. It's just, as I say, it's like a slow cooker. You put your thing in it, and everything just gradually comes together. And this track does. It's eerie, delicate, and then it really gets heavy and loud. And then all of a sudden, before it ends, it goes back into that gentleness. Absolutely killer track. Then we get White Flag. This is a really strong track. The drumming's good on here. And this is a guitar solo by Mike Abdo, or Dow. And it's a great guitar solo. Like Stars on Our Eyes have seen. Love the double bass drumming on this. It's absolutely classic. Put this under the headphones and you can hear the drumming going through your ears. Fantastic track. Then we get The Ghost of Home. It builds up the layers of guitars, and just like any, it's another epic, and just like any sort of progressive track of metal or rock, it fades away into this gentle thing. It's absolutely brilliant. Then we have a little instrumental called The Theories of Flight. I love the voice in this. It's sort of eerie, and some great guitar work here from Jim. Absolutely killer track to end the album as ever. Super album this is. Play this all the time. To me, it doesn't matter who's in the band. They've had some fine musicians in this band, and that's what I think keeps the sound consistent. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 8.4. Okay, coming in at number 2 is the 13th and final album by Fates Warning, and it's called Long Day, Good Night. And the band on this is Ray Alder, Jim Mathias, Joey Vieira, Bobby Zammerbeck, Mike Abdal. The first track on here is called The Destination Onward. Atmospheric start, 8 minutes of wonderful. It just builds up again. You got Joey's great bass line, and Ray still singing as strong as ever. Impressive start to this album. Shuttered World. Jim's guitar is, I mean, he's been there since day one, and his influence on this band is amazing. He pulls out a great guitar solo on this. Absolutely brilliant. And also you get a great solo from Mike as well. It's just wonderful. Alone We Walk, the riffs in this are great. Ray's vocals though are superb. Now Comes the Rain. It's a very short track, 4 minutes. Great bass line from Joey. Some delicate guitar. Then we get The Way Home, one of my favourite tracks by Fates Warning. It's got a great bass line to start. The drumming from Bobby just bounces around. This is no ordinary progressive metal. It's the heartbeat of this song. Its time signature changes but flows. And then we got a great guitar solo from Mike on this incredible track. Under the Sun, one of the nicest slower songs I think this band ever did. It's got some lovely guitar tones on it, and it's one of my favourite slow tracks by the band. Scars, as I said, after all these years, Ray's singing is strong as ever, looked after his voice, one of his best vocal performances on this album. Then we get Begin Again. Bobby's drumming fantastic, backed up with a great bass line from Joey. The engine room works so well on this. Tight. When Snow Falls, atmospheric, fine vocal from Ray as ever. It's a little bit different and it just works for me. Then we got Liar, the last album, and we're still getting the classic sound of Fate's Warning coming through here. Driving riffs, great bass lines, and a fantastic drum from Bobby. Glass Houses. It's probably one of those, the weakest track on the album. It's not my favourite, but I still don't mind listening to it. Then we get The Longest Shadow of the Day. Great track. It's bluesy. It's really different. Then the rockiness comes in, the progression comes in. It's just, everyone plays their part on this. It's 11 minutes. They all sort of have their little bit of fame on this track, and it's sort of like the swan song, isn't it? It just say thank you very much and all that, and they all have their little solo. Then the last track is called The Last Song. It's a nice acoustic guitar, and it's just a very sort of thank you song, and I think it's really good. Okay, a lot of commentators and reviewers have said this is one of the best last albums by any band, and I tend to agree with them. It's an absolutely killer album. They've been very consistent throughout their career, from their debut album Night on Bröcken to this one. What a fantastic way to sign off with an absolutely dynamite album. So I'm going to give this one an RTO ranking of 8.5. But my number one album, and it has been now for a long time, it's a concept album. I love concept albums. It came out in 1997. It's called A Pleasant Shade of Grey. It's one song divided into 12 parts, and it was noted for its darker mood in the progressive music. So the performers on this is Ray Alder on vocals, Jim Mathias on guitar, Mark Zonder on the drums, Jerry Vieira on bass, Kevin Moore on keyboards. Additional voices on here: Bill Matoya, Lydia Montcanese, Mark Zonder, Terry Brown, Lindy Mathias. So it's just one piece of music called, and it's just split in no fancy titles. It's just A Pleasant Shade of Grey. Part 1. Very short little guitar plays from Jim. Some nice tones on here. A little bit of thunder in there just to add to the atmosphere. Part 2. This bit's all about Ray's vocal. Very strong. Nice, simple background. Part 3. Very dark riffs, very Tony Iommi riffs, moody, wonderful. Part 4, gentle guitars again, but with some evil sounding guitar at the same time. It's very dark, and atmospheric and passionate. Part 4. No, we've done part 4. Part 5. The mood changes here. The deep, rich bass line from Joey. Marks of drumming on this just takes it down dark, very dark. Then we have a part 6. Just, ooh, eerie. Part 7, lovely piece between Jim and Joey, very sultry. And then my favourite bit is part 8. It's the haunting piano from Kevin. Kevin's done all this, you know, when he was in Dream Theater. You know, it's ooh, very eerie, very cool. Gives it the wonderful thing. Then we have part 9. Again, Kevin's super on this. You got this chant from the crowd. Dark. It makes it so dark, but wonderful at the same time. And then part 10, we change the mood. It's more of acoustic piano. Great vocal from Ray. It just lifts it a little bit. And then we get part 11. Very strange, but it's atmospheric. The guitar's a little bit thing. Very industrial as well. Part 12. The drumming from Mark is brilliant. It's just wonderful stuff to end the song. This is definitely the darkest album they made, but it's wonderful. The musicianship on this is terrific. Again, you have to just play this. No needle dropping on this. Play it from start to finish. I love this. It's a great concept. You've got to listen to this into the headphones to really enjoy it. It's a great piece of music. Yeah, it's continuous, even though it's split up. There's no break. It's wonderful. And I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 9 out of 10. So there we go, folks. Fate's Warning. Great band. Really enjoyed this one. Very hard to put together, but a wonderful thing to listen to all these albums again. And yes, I do listen to all the albums. I've been accused of again of not listening to all the albums. I listen to every damn album that I review and rank. So that's all for today, because this one takes ages. But we'll be back tomorrow, and apart from being live stream day, we have got another Battle Royale round, and this is between Jimmy Barnes and Sean Ryan. Now, Jimmy, has a great channel. Go and check him out. But he has put in New Order's Technique, and Sean has put in a Prince album, Sign of the Times. 2 great little pop albums, and they're going head to head tomorrow. And also tomorrow, it's mixing up. It's pick a mix and it's mixing up, and we're going to look at the production work of Brian Eno. Now, Brian Eno is not just a producer. He was in Roxy Music. He doesn't just produce, he plays on people's albums, and he engineers. But we're going to concentrate on just the albums that he produced, and then I'll pick my top 5. So that's all coming to tomorrow. Have a great day, everybody, and bye for now.